are pretty on Ulysses. There it is.
Hello BookTube, I'm Sean the Book Maniac. Welcome back to my channel. This is just a short introduction to a vlog that Leah of Hide and Seek and I made of our buddy read of The Sense of an Ending by Julian Barnes. Please enjoy it. It is quite spoilery, so if you don't want any spoilers, don't watch it. I am still processing my feelings about this novel and am toying with the idea of rereading it immediately, like in the next week, before I prepare a full review. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoy this vlog, which was just an absolute hoot to do. If you haven't already subscribed to Leah's channel, Hide and Seek, there's a link in the show notes, and you're missing out, so please go there and do that.
Morning, Sean. Friday morning, I have the day off, got my cup of tea, sitting on my veranda and looking forward to starting our buddy read, The Sense of an Ending by Julian Barnes. Here goes. For Pat. Who's Patrick? I'm always interested in who the books are dedicated to. So who is Pat? Patrick? Patricia? Anyway, let's see. And yes, I annotate my books. I like to write in a red pen. And we'll see where we end up. Yes, I wear glasses to read. Great opening paragraph. I'll leave you to recite that in your video. Whilst I would love to sit around and read all day, like anyone with a day off, I have 9 million things to do. So I'm up to, I don't know, think about page 33, 34. The boys have just started university and are writing letters to one another. I loved the description of school. I loved how the three initial members of the clique wanted to absorb Adrian into their group, only because he was really quite ambivalent to it. I loved that description of the pretentious, arrogant ignorance of youth and how these young boys thought they knew everything in the world, and through hindsight they could see that they were rather jaded. I really am enjoying that description of the boys. The writing, I'm really falling straight into the writing, and when I picked it up I just wanted to sit down and read. So that's why I'm leaving now at 30 pages when I knew I really wanted to sit down and read a bit more this morning. But I know if I sit down for too much longer, I'm going to be there all day and not keep reading. So I'm loving this buddy reading experience and looking forward to some more discussions shortly.
Hey Leah, well here I am out in a little park by my house. I saw the Japanese flag blowing in the wind. I thought, oh, that's a nice backdrop for a few comments on the first 30 pages of The Sense of an Ending by Julian Barnes. So yeah, I love the first 30 pages. To be honest, I wasn't sure until about the last 10. As much as I was delighted by the intellectually stimulating debates those boys were having, it seemed really precocious and disembodied. I didn't get a sense of any of them as bodies, only as minds, and that's a kind of a turnoff for me. But that shifted almost immediately after the narrator. Yeah, I want to film this saxophonist or whatever he is. Can you hear that? I'm going to show you a bit. Probably doesn't want me to film him, so I'm just going to pretend that I'm not. He's facing the other way. Isn't that weird? It's good though. Alright, I hope you can hear me with the lovely music, but I'm just going to quickly finish up. So as soon as he got to university, got his girlfriend Veronica, and especially that extended scene where she takes him home to her family, then I knew this was going to be something special, because that was fully embodied, realized characters, and the dynamic and the exchange between him and Veronica's mother just blew me away. In the morning when everybody else is out for a walk, and he has that conversation that's just so enigmatic and beautifully written and just quirky. So no, this is going to be something really special. So yeah, that was kind of abstract at the beginning, and I just thought fascinating about having a fictional character ruminate on real life as if it were a novel. So that's pretty meta, and I love that. But I didn't feel that those boys, except perhaps Adrian, was that his name? Adrian, the new guy in the group, he was fascinating, and he was a little bit more embodied, but him and the narrator and his friends, I couldn't get a sense of them at all, other than how they felt about history or what kind of sense of humor they had in class. But that all changed, and he did. The narrator did say he didn't really want to dwell on his high school days, so he didn't. But it was a little bit abstract for me, especially compared to the wonderful scene with Veronica and her mother and all the stuff about sexuality. Yeah, gonna really enjoy this. This is fun.
Now it's Friday night here, and that means nice glass of red. We've just had some homemade pizza, and this is a lovely Spanish tempranillo. Delicious. And if you hear any noise, that's John watching the Super Rugby. It's Auckland versus Waikato, 2 New Zealand teams, and he's yelling at the television because the players can hear him. Anyway, each year my girlfriend and I pick our rugby boyfriends, and I found my rugby boyfriend for 2018 tonight, so I'll insert a picture here for you if I can. His name's Damien McKenzie. Lovely. Anyway, the book. Wow, I had some more time this afternoon to read the book. I loved the time at university. I loved that tension, that mixture of the openness and the sexual awakening, yet still that prudish, priggish living in the 50s. And I really liked how Tony kept tying it back to his love of history. I found the repeating of Adrian's words and Adrian's ideas of history being forgotten memories yet tangible evidence, and I found that to be wonderful, woven through the whole story. Now I'm up to the part where Tony's received the letter and his bequest from Veronica's mother, and I wonder where we're going to go with this. It sounds really quite interesting. I don't know whether to feel sorry for Tony or whether he really is a wonderful, just normal, insightful character. I'm not sure yet. Right now I'm leaning towards just thinking he's a bit of a no-hoper. But anyway, we'll wait and see. I must say that the suicide of Adrian really did shake me a bit, and I wasn't expecting that. Yet, in hindsight, at 20 pages further down, I think it was a worthwhile, it was interesting. I think it worked, and I brought an interesting challenge and change into the story. I want to hear and see more of Veronica and see what happened with her and why her mother actually left Tony this bequest. Anyway, interesting times ahead. Hope you're enjoying it too. Night, Sean.
Hey Leah, well, I'm not sure about this vlogging idea. I didn't think to shave before I left the house this morning. But anyway, let's prove nothing and see how self-conscious I feel talking in a cafe into my iPad. Anyway, I just read about the Severn boar. I didn't know anything about the Severn boar or any boar, other than that I can sometimes be a boar, but different meaning of boar. And checked on Wikipedia what the heck it was, and then read that passage. It starts in the bottom of page 35 and continues to page 36. Just stunning. It wasn't like a tornado or an earthquake, not that I'd witnessed either. Nature being violent and destructive, putting us in our place. It was more unsettling because it looked and felt quietly wrong, as if some small lever of the universe had been pressed. And here, just for these minutes, nature was reversed, and time with it. And that makes me think, whether it's brilliant or ridiculous, of the fact that he and his friends used to wear their watches reversed backwards, until Veronica put the kibosh on that. Anyway, just stunning. Oh my God, the milk jug and the lithograph and the oxfam. Oh my God! I love this sentence. The history that happens underneath our noses ought to be the clearest, and yet it's the most deliquescent. And I think the word of the day should be deliquescent. So for instance, if Tony, I think it's it's gonna be my favorite line of the novel and maybe in all of literature. That was just brilliant. Talk about putting the reader right in Tony's mind and heart, hey? Right in the center of his character. Talk about a cliffhanger. It reminds me of Calvino's If on Winter's Night a Traveler. Just brilliant. I freaking love this novel, and I'm so glad that you're being such a slave driver, because I didn't want to look at your video until I read up to the bottom of page 93, and so I did that this morning, and I'm starving. I forced myself to go out and to a cafe and just sit there until I read it, and what a delightful task to give myself. But I haven't eaten today, and it's about 11 o'clock in the morning, but who cares about any of that? A little too early for a glass of wine, but I'm looking forward to having a couple of bottles of that. Jesus Christ, guy sneezing like a lion. Yeah, everything you said. I mean, just the history, I can see why some people don't like this novel because it's kind of overly intellectual, but for me it's just perfect. The personal history and memory that all began with those really quite pedantic classroom discussions, but taking on such a deeply visceral tone as it plays out in Tony's life. And I don't know if he's a sad sack, or I think there's going to be a lot of surprises coming in the last bit of it, and I will definitely want to finish reading this tomorrow. I just think it's so well done. The writing is beautiful, and another one of my favorite things that I've read today is the musings he makes on, after all, it was the 60s, but it depended on where you were and who you were, and that really the people of the 60s, their mental framework was the 50s, and really people didn't start living with the framework of the 60s until the 70s. I thought that was just fascinating, and how that all plays out in his life and the lives of the other characters, and the whole thing about suicide. Now, I wasn't viscerally affected by Tony's suicide, other than as a major plot development, but he wasn't a real character to me. He was just a bunch of ideas, and that doesn't detract from my experience of the novel at all. But yeah, and same with all of Tony's childhood friends, and Tony himself didn't start to come alive for me until after he got out of high school. So no, I didn't care that he died, other than that it's a big thing in the plot. But now that he's reflecting back on Tony as a 60-year-old, Tony's, I'm getting the names mixed up. Adrian is starting to come more alive to me as Tony reflects on him. But that's enough for now. More tomorrow. Wow. And oh my God, you can tell how immersed I became in the novel that I neglected to comment on the rugby player. More info and photos and hopefully locker room video footage, girlfriend.
Now, I'm running so late today. I have about 10 minutes before my team turns up, so I have to get this done in a hurry. Oh my goodness. About page 130, I was ready to throw this book. Has Tony ever been such a sap of a person? I even highlighted my notes here. Look at my page of notes here. They say, why? Why would you want this? And things like, this is such a male novel. He had two logical emotions from women, yet he still ignored them. I loved the Margaret-Tony relationship. I think that was an interesting ex-wife take and a modern take on a relationship. I didn't know whether to love or hate Veronica until the very last pages, and then, yes. But page 130 to 143, 44, I'm going, really? Where am I going here? I think you were right. You said it earlier. It just brought out that pretension, that self-absorbed, self-aware sense that Tony and the other boys had. And you're right, the other boys did just fade into the background. Whilst they were prominent in the school phase, as naturally progresses with relationships from your school time, the characters do just fade from memory. And I got that sense. I enjoyed how Barnes kept bringing the story back and repeating the motive of history and the history lessons and remembering that. I thought that was really good. I enjoyed the writing style. I found that to be fascinating and the language to be wonderful. But for those 15 pages, I just didn't care. I'm going, Tony, mate, pull yourself together. But anyway, and then the ending hit, and I'll show you my notes on the very last page because I do write lots of notes and it's pretty succinct. What the fuck is right? Anyway, I gave it 5 stars, and as I think I said in my little message earlier on Twitter, can you separate the reading experience from the book itself? Like I said, if you read a trashy novel on holidays, the fact that you've read it by a pool sipping cocktails automatically elevates the book. So reading this with a person who is as much of a book lover and a reader as I was a wonderful experience, and I enjoyed the book. I gave it 5 stars for the experience. I gave it 5 stars for the punchline at the end. But I think if I look back in a month's time or 6 months' time, that number may come down. But Sean, I had so much fun doing this, and I'm looking forward to next week. Have a great day.
Hey Leah, well here I am, standing in front of a gorgeous tree. I don't think it's cherry blossoms, it's way too early for the cherry blossoms to be blossoming, but it's some other kind of tree. I'm not pretty stupid about vegetation no matter which country I'm living in, but it's beautiful, hey? I just read 20 pages since yesterday, so I'm on page 113. I don't think your short message on Twitter unduly influenced me, but I'm kind of underwhelmed by those 20 pages. It was interesting, the letter that Veronica sent to him, and what a jerk he'd been in the letter. But didn't he kind of foreshadow that? He didn't refer to it very much, but he basically outright said in the story 30 or 40 pages before that he'd sent a snarky letter that was a friendship ending letter to Adrian. So it was a little bit anticlimactic. And then I just feel like he's kind of puttering now, narratively puttering and ruminating, and it's not nearly as striking as his earlier ruminations. Like, it's pretty cliched. I'm not bored, but I'm almost bored, so I need some more something. Either the navel gazing to be more thought-provoking, or something more to happen. So that's kind of where I'm at. Maybe that's not what was starting to happen for you, but I'm a little bit underwhelmed. I am off to a new cafe. I'm taking you and the video camera with me. If it's open, I'm going to go sit down and read some more there. Bouts of apocalyptic wanking. Spare us your sentimental lucubrations. Lucubrations, that was a new one for me. And now that I've looked it up, I don't think Mr. Barnes is using it completely correctly. The man who wanted the pub was resting his head on her shoulder. Okay, you've got my attention, Mr. Barnes. What the heck? There's the cafe that I was in the background, but look at that gorgeous guy. God, it was distracting. No, it wasn't distracting. Actually, I do some of my best reading in cafe filled with cute guys, ikemen as we say they say in Japan, as we say in Japan. And he spoke perfect English, and I got a new favorite cafe. Anyway, so I am now on page 140. So I have 10 pages left. It's really picked up from what I was complaining about before. The whole thing about Veronica and her son. I still need a little bit more to feel really happy, so I've got 10 pages to go, but it's certainly got holding my interest again, but I'm still hoping there's going to be something more to end off with a bang. I'm intrigued. So 10 more pages. Okay, so I'm on the second last page, or the third last page, page 148, and I'm looking in the wrong place, but what? That's not what I thought. I thought there was going to be a twist, but not that. Oh my God! There is accumulation, there is responsibility, and beyond these, there is unrest. There is great unrest. Well, I'm feeling some unrest because the more I've sat for about 15 minutes with my reaction after finishing the novel, and I'm getting unhappier and unhappier with this novel. So we'll see where I am in a day or two, but I feel manipulated, I feel irritated, and also impressed. I think I'm going to slap a 4-star rating on this book because I liked it, but I think it won't be too long before I don't like it very much. Some interesting ideas, some interesting scenes, but I think a lot of it was pretentious claptrap. And it made me think about my own life, and about history, and about memory. I saw your review. You had a different reaction, so, I've been all over the place. Who knows where I'll be by this time tomorrow. But no, I liked it. But it made me angry. And I think I won't like it for much longer. It was fun, Leah. Let's do it again. Oh, that's right. We are doing it again next weekend. Muriel, can't wait.